Jacques, welcome to today. And Paul, Shanas. It is 17:30 and we welcome you here. And just to remind you, the scarlet thread for our conversation is my life, my business. I wish I was here. And our dream and our mandate is to help people and ourselves to be more present in our lives and in our business. Um, and so today we have Jacques, and Jacques got a very interesting topic. Tell us what it is, Jacques.
Well, I decided let's address the myths of innovation to deal with the situation where we find ourselves in when we're stuck. And the question is, now what? You know, I know that you handled the topic as well. The world has changed, now what? But this one is particularly as a contribution to that place we find ourselves in, is we've tried everything and we've lost all kinds of inspiration to come up with good ideas. So I decided, well, let's today just talk a little bit about what is innovation not, and take it from there. And hopefully we can have a great discussion later. So these things are just meant to be thought-provoking as usual, Alistair. And so the question is, how do I outthink my challenge or my problem? So I referenced a book with the title of Myths of Innovation by Scott Birkin. And basically, he asks the question, where do good ideas come from? And his hypothesis is that innovation is not the product of a single moment of inspiration, but the accumulation of many smaller insights. And also, it's usually generated by a number of different individuals. And something I said previously is that innovation happens when you and others start using the idea. And the book's thread is all about don't stop developing good ideas, because with time they might develop into great ones. All right, so let's get into the myths very quickly. Myth 1 is one person single-handedly coming up with an invention. That is a myth. Number 2, great ideas only strike those lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. Number 3, new ideas come conveniently gift-wrapped, meaning that they arrive fully formed and they will work first time, and it doesn't really require hard work and perseverance. Number 4, great ideas come from one innovator. Like for instance, when we think about the light bulb, we think about Thomas Edison. And it was quite interesting, is that the actual inventors were Humphrey Davy and Joseph Swan. I mean, up until I read this, I didn't hear of them. I didn't know that they actually did. All I know is that Thomas Edison has inspired us. He helped us discover the fact that, instead of his 10,000 failures, he discovered 10,000 ways of not doing something in a certain way. Anyway, myth number 5 is an interesting one. Myth number 5 says people like new ideas. Apparently, that is definitely a myth. And the reason it's a myth is that people tend to reject new things because we are afraid of change. And it requires that we place our faith in the unknown. So we tend to be a little afraid to start small because, it's not the big bang that we expect it to be, and it doesn't have the glitz and glamour. And the other thing is that when we start consulting those around us, especially, people that we believe have great wisdom, they have the experience, and when they don't like the idea, we shelve it. Friends or family also surprise, surprise, might not like your idea. You know, for example, the inventor of the first copy machine was told the technology he needed would never exist. And so we can go on and on with the many examples. That's the only one I'm going to share. And the last myth, 6, is the belief that goodness always wins. So we tend to have tunnel vision, and we focus on one small aspect of the great or the good idea, and sometimes we don't necessarily appreciate that there are cultural issues with our good idea. The example here is selling weaponry to Indians of old, where they believed it was more honorable to fight with a sword, kind of a thing. I really want to end off and tap into where I focused on last time. Is I mentioned the creation and its different components. And so when you go to Proverbs, it speaks about having to actually examine the ant and its ways and be wise, because you discover that they are savvy investors. They know how to store up for a rainy day or for a winter period. From a leadership perspective, locusts have no king, yet they advance together in rank. So it speaks to me about studying what it looks like to have unity in community. And then a lizard can be caught with the hand, yet it is found in king's palaces. And for me, that is networking with confidence. And then it taps into what you shared last week, as how you show up in your 20-second elevator speech, Alistaire. So what this then leads me to is, I don't know who's familiar with this concept, Alistaire. I don't know if you heard of this before, but the concept of biomimicry. So, you know, Proverbs prepares us for this, because and biomimicry is what shapes sustainable design and innovation in agriculture, architecture, construction, energy, fashion, food waste, materials chemistry, sanitation, and transportation. So it's a foundation for building organizational strategies. So what is biomimicry? Well, it mimics life, it mimics creation. Nature is agile and responsive. It's not static. Things change in the environment. Well, nature responds. And therefore, nature adapts and it remains resilient. And also, when you study nature, you'll see that it actually very creative, and it creates creative conditions conducive for life, especially in a sense where you're looking at interdependence and self-organizing. Nature also shows us that there is no waste, as everything has a purpose. It provides us with a framework. It gives us a form, it gives us a process, it gives us a system. And in the qualities clearly on display, it has frugal use of resources, decentralized networks, it's open and transparent, it has a sense of purpose. And also there's a regenerative cultural DNA. And also organizational design. For instance, if you look at the trees, if you compare it with organograms and the way, you know, they are depicted and drawn, it's normally from, you know, organograms are done from the top down. But what is the organogram of the tree, if you think about it? It's actually flipped upside down. It's the triangle is in reverse. So the point is, when you've run out of ideas and you don't know where to go to next, look around you and literally look at nature, look at creation, and realize that when you network and you interact with people, ideas come from sharing, and not to be afraid of sharing your ideas. People are not naturally going to agree with you. Those that are in tune with you might build with them, but that aha moment then is created through a variety of incremental interactions, incremental steps of thinking, and not to be afraid to write it down. And to, the last thing I spoke about last time is also to risk it. What's the worst that can happen? But if you are willing to try something new, to step out of your boat, as it were, and to walk on water, the one thing I can guarantee you is that you won't feel stuck. There will be momentum. You'll be doing things. You'll be trying things. You'll be learning new things as you go. And Alistair, that's where I want to stop. And if there are any questions, comments, I'm happy for us to have a discussion around this today. Remember, the theme is, especially when you tried or you think you've tried everything and the situation, the challenge, the problem hasn't gone away. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jacques. Wow, amazing. Biomimicry. Well, if nothing else, we're learning a massively new word, but I love the application and the flow of your conversation, and thank you very much. I have so many things happening in my mind at the moment, but let's hear from everyone else. Any questions again?
Oh, have I blown you all away? Are you
No?
thinking, what is this all about? You see, even the topic is like might not be very familiar to you or even to myself as I share this. But this afternoon we want to fully embrace the unfamiliar and step into that space of the unknown with confidence. So, Alistair, I mean, while others are still
Just,
thinking, oh, maybe there's some questions. I see.
well, Shanad is saying, I love the idea of biomimicry. Ishay says, laugh out loud. It's something to take in more than to respond to. So I think mostly, Jacques, you have blown our minds. When somebody, we always know, and we as coaches, as facilitators, we always in the process of learning the art of appreciating silence, because we are so prone to try and fill silence. And we're learning that silence doesn't mean nobody's got a contribution or a question. It simply means people are thinking, and somebody will respond once they're ready to respond after thinking. And the comments definitely allude to that. Love the idea of biomimicry. Um, and Jacques, if I may.
Sure, go ahead, please,
So,
Alistair.
so what I hear you say is that we have every reason to be creative and innovative, that even if we cannot come up with a brand new idea, um, biomimicry literally means that we can imitate the living, that God has surrounded us with nature, with living creatures, for us to come up with amazing ideas. An example, planes is an example, aeroplanes is an example of biomimicry because it's shaped and inspired by birds. Velcro, which is not, uh, Velcro is like 60 years old or 80 years old, is an example. When a guy, George, walked in the field and he noticed that the burrs from the pods started sticking to his socks and his dogs, and Velcro was given birth. So that's what I'm getting. Anyone else? Shanaz, so how would I apply the idea of biomimicry with someone who is stuck? It's a good question, John.
Well, it's a fantastic question, but I'm going to throw it back at you, Shanaz. I mean, it is first and foremost, to test it on yourself. Have you ever found yourself in a place where you would be stuck and being able to look at nature? I'll give you another example, Shanaz. First and foremost. There we go. I've invited you, Shanaz. It's like one of the examples I have here is in construction, for example. Termites, when we think about them, we're afraid of them because they destroy buildings, not helping to design them. But the example here, there's an Eastgate building, an office complex in Harare, Zimbabwe, who has an internal climate control system originally inspired by the structure of termite mounds. And so when they researched this, and so there's the clue, Shanaz, when they researched this, they found the revelation that there was a relationship between mound structures and internal temperatures. And this is basically where the idea came from. So literally, you know how COVID has brought us into small spaces, and we spend some of our times these days, and I think it's a hybrid system or a hybrid that is developed in terms of face-to-face physical interactions as well as virtual interactions. There's a good proportion of our time spent indoors. Is to go outdoors, and when we deal with a problem, we look so inwardly and we get stuck in that problem and we don't look and see what is around us. And it is taking that walk, for example. I remember Alistair would jump out and after our talk go for a walk. I'm not too sure whether the sun is still setting later for you there, Alistair, but is basically taking in, and it's everything around you, and asking yourself, all right, here is my challenge. From what I've seen today, what can I glean from there? It could just be a tidbit of an idea.
So maybe I can also add to what you're saying, Jacques. So basically, there are three types of biomimicry. And I think, hoping, Shanaz, that some of these types or all of them can assist you in helping your friend who is stuck. So the one type of biomimicry is when you copy form and shape, right? So one of the things that you can do with your friend is to explore with that person, who do they know who is fairly similar, who is in a similar space, similar industry, who has what's the word I'm looking for? Who's made advances in life, or who has moved from one place to another, and use that example, allow the person to use that example to say how can they copy that example, that form, that existing legacy in that other person to move forward from where they are. The second type of biomimicry is when you copy a process. And so in the same vein, you can explore with a person, another person, or something in nature that has, like we know the butterfly story, that if the butterfly goes through a process of what's the first form, Jacques, and they break out, that's basically a stuck form, so they can stuck in
Caterpillar.
the caterpillar phase, but it doesn't bring out the beauty of the butterfly. So use the process of that's in nature, like in a butterfly, to bring out the beauty that is possible for that person. Okay. The third type of biomimicry is mimicking an ecosystem. And it's to place that person in the context of where they are, or in a system, whether it's in a team, whether it's in a family, a community, a neighborhood. um, and make them realize the importance of them becoming an active component in that ecosystem.
So no, it's interesting. So I see, Shanaz, I mean, the fact that you say here that when you're talking to your friend and looking at seasons, for sure, and you know, it always comes back down to if you try and inspire ideas in someone else, that's the one part. But I really want to strongly encourage everyone listening that this is how you generate ideas in yourself, because even that question you asked, Shanaz, how do I do this in someone else? How do I inspire them by using biomimicry? It's an interesting place. So therefore you need to be inspired. You need to come up with a great idea that you can help this person shift in their thinking, in their ability to think out of the box. And not just to think out of the box, then to do out of the box. Those in combination. And you know, Alistair, as you're talking about form, process, and system, it's literally those kinds of things. I mean, nature. Some of the things that we quote sometimes, you know, to ad nauseum, and it kind of loses its power. It's when we all say, you know, when you buy seed in a packet, on the packet there's a picture, for example, of what it is this thing will grow into after a while, after you plant it. So the first thing is, well, like any good ideas, you got to take that seed and you got to plant it. And then you got to water it, and then you got to be patient, and something will then happen. And when we look at, for example, if patience, once we start, and waiting for an outcome and having faith that there will be an outcome is very important. So you put it into the ground, you see nothing happening, but you believe something is. And many times we share our ideas with people, and I think it becomes precious to us because it's a precious idea. It's a new thing, and sometimes it's just a reordering of things that we discussed also previously. And somebody looks at you as like, really? Not familiar to me. But the point is to become comfortable with trusting the first thought that pops into your head without auditing it. You know, we all talk about, oh, let's brainstorm. But actually what we do is we just want to audit. The first one to say anything, we go, no, I don't think that will work. It kills that sense of vulnerability, because a new idea is first and foremost to be vulnerable, because it's untried, it's untested. And you therefore want to explore the very thing that you're unfamiliar with. So suddenly, I wonder if this has happened. And you know, one of the big downsides of actually sharing it with people is somebody will say, but that has been done and it hasn't worked. Why do you think it will work? And I'm always encouraged by this. And I'll come back to actually the core question. But I guess is just to encourage us all to keep on thinking out of the box in this way, is not to be discouraged when it doesn't seem like we have support for our ideas. And the worst thing, as far as I'm concerned, the worst thing that can happen when you try out something, even if you have support from no one, is that you're going to learn something new. That sense of adventure. It's a bit of an attitude. And even if somebody says, but it's been tried and tested and it failed before. You know, people say, and I saw this, it's like one of these bump sticker things, if you like, is, you know, true change is driven by people who did not know that it cannot work. And I like that bumper sticker.
Mm.
I really like it because they didn't know it can't work, so they tried anyway. And with that sort of sense of hard work, consistency, and perseverance, it paid off. And we all go, wow, look at that. But it's never an overnight success. And I want to come back to one of the myths that innovation and bright ideas are developed by a single person. It's developed in community. You know, between Alistaire and I, we share the kinds of things that we do, and something that Alistaire does in a certain way sparks an idea in me, and I go try it. You know, it's an offshoot perhaps of what Alistaire is doing, but I will try it. So, coming back to nature. Let me tell you, I focus a lot on leadership, and so does Alistair. You know, when you watch a duck or a goose, I like a swan. You know, normally as an idea, and I see them on a gliding away on a pond or a dam or a lake or whatever it is, so calmly moving, while underneath the feet are furiously, you know, paddling. I look at that and to me it speaks to being calm under pressure. Do I come across as swan-like in my approach? What is that swan doing? Is whatever my self-doubts are, is to keep them inside and choose my responses. That is always going to be constructive. It's always going to be peaceful. You know, for example's sake. All right.
Thank you, Jacques. For today, definitely, it's at times like this that I wish more people would join us, not to hear us being wise, but to spread and to be able to hear all these thoughts, but mostly so that what does it spark off in your mind, in your leadership, in your business, in your world. So thanks everybody for arriving today. So Jacques, next week.
Yes, sir. What are we talking about?
So I am for the last week, because I'm reading in the car when it's load shedding, I'm busy exploring quantum physics, and I'm trying to connect three things: quantum physics, which deals a lot with time travel, and leadership is the next thing I try to connect there, and the Bible, right? So that's where my mind is circling at the moment. But my earliest thoughts, I'd like to share that, and I'm inviting everybody to come assist me in just allowing me to think next week. So I'd like to talk about dimensional leadership next week, if that's okay
Awesome.
with you, Jacques.
Yeah, of
Dimensional
course.
leadership.
Dimensional. Oh, as usual. Look forward to it, Alistair. And thank you for facilitating the conversation, Alistair. Always so calm and so lucid. Thank you, as usual, but powerful, of course. And everybody that's joined us, we are grateful for your participation. We can't see you, but your moral support is just, you cannot underestimate it. So thank you very much. And until next week.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.